Welcome to the Hockey Writers Flames Faceoff, a weekly show with our top Calgary Flames writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything that happens with the Flaming Sea. So get set, get focused. It's time for the Flames Faceoff. Flames Faceoff.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Quinney, and this is the Flames Faceoff, brought to you by the HockeyWriters.com. Now, we're a weekly show, and to make sure you don't miss an episode, what you can do is you could subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook, a like if you like what you see on YouTube and Facebook, and do be sure to share this with your fellow Flames fans. So with that, I'd like to introduce the panel. We have with us, as usual, Greg Tysowski, Colton Pankiw, and Mr. Brett Krauss, all with the Calgary Flames writing pool. Gentlemen, we've got a lot to talk about this week, so let's get right to it. This week was a great week so far. They won 3 games. They've got the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. That game will start in about an hour, but if they win that one, it'll be a clean sweep of all 4 games. And the Flames are at the quarter point of the season, are now sitting atop the Pacific Division, the Western Conference, playing .729 hockey. They've got a goal differential of plus 31. That's astonishing. The best in the league by far. With an 8-1-1 record in their last 10, the Flames are just behind the Toronto Maple Leafs. I hate to mention the Flames and the Leafs in the same sentence, but there you go. So my question is takeaways from the week, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Greg. Is any surprises this week or disappointments? I guess it'd be hard to be disappointed, but how about it? What do you take away?
You know, it's funny when I'm kind of looking for like story ideas to write about the Flames this season. It's been kind of hard to to come up with stuff, because it's easy to pick holes in things and to kind of say this needs works, that needs works, and needs to be improved. But it's been kind of tough this year because they are sitting near the top of the NHL. And one thing that I was a bit surprised at during this road trip is that we were hearing a lot about this fourth line was like playing well with Lucic, and they were calling it, I've read a couple of times, the full pension line, all the old guys. Yeah. But then the last game, they broke those guys up and they put Monahan with Coleman and with Trevor Lewis, and they ended up with a 5-point night for that line. And then that fourth line became Pitlick and Richardson, and I'm missing someone else. And Dubé, and they were so bad that they didn't even play in the third period. I guess they were benched the entire third period and didn't play in overtime. So I'm a bit surprised that Sutter is mixing up lines during this road trip, because they keep winning. So it's like I always thought, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I guess he's been feeling the urge to like tinker with lines, and it worked actually, because Monahan had a 2-point night, and it was. So I kind of. What I take away is they're still doing really, really well, but Sutter is still finding things to kind of complain about, I think, and to kind of tinker with and try and improve. So, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's trying to keep the opposition off balance. I mean, he did that all last year. It drove us nuts trying to figure out what his line combinations really were. I don't know if he settled on any, but Colton, your thoughts on the week? Any takeaways? Anything jump out at you?
I mean, I guess like the one thing that jumped out that you kind of heard about it before, but just like, I don't have the exact stats, but Mangiapane's like goal scoring on the road versus at home is just like one of the most bizarre things. I don't think there's any real rhyme or reason to it, but is scoring constantly on the road. It's crazy. But aside from that, I think nothing really out of the ordinary. I think just more of the same, good goaltending, timely scoring. It's crazy just how improved this team is from last season. I know we've said it a ton, but they look like one of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah. Brett, your take on the week? Anything stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, another good week for the team. I was actually at the game against Pittsburgh there on Monday, and that was, a really good game. I thought Tristan Jarry really held Pittsburgh in for most of that game. I thought the Flames had most of their chances, but yeah, other than that, I think kind of the only bad thing really I saw was they kind of let teams hang around, all three teams. Against LA, they kind of in that third period almost didn't quite go to sleep, but they really, let LA try and get back into that one. And Anaheim, they were up 3-1, and Anaheim came all the way back and forced a shootout. So, and then, Matthew Tkachuk, I think, even commented on it today and said that, if they get ahead, they don't want to do that again tonight in Vegas. So, but yeah, other than that, they're right at the top of the league right now. So it's hard to complain about the product on the ice right now.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you on those two games. Pittsburgh was a squeaker, went to a shootout win, overtime win. And, they're kind of a middling team in my view. And then was surprised at what happened with the Ducks. The Ducks managed to throw, 40 shots at them, raising questions in my mind about just how good their defense is or consistent it is. Greg, your thoughts on that? Or did that give you a pause for any concern? 2 shootout victories there?
It's funny, you were talking about those 40 shots, and I was actually watching the post-game pressers online, and one of the reporters actually asked Daryl Sutter that. He was like, this is kind of a little unlike you guys having like 40 shots on them. And he was, in his very matter-of-fact, bland way, he kind of dismissed it, saying it's like, most of them were perimeter shots, and they were not good scoring chances. He was actually said he was happy with their defense despite having 40 shots against. And so I'm not really too concerned if they have some games where there's more shots coming at them. You were mentioning off the top of the show that their goal differential is just fantastic. They're scoring more goals than I thought they would. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I thought they would be like they'd be winning 2-1 games, 3-2 games, but they've been scoring like at a much better pace than I thought. So I think when they have these games where I think their defense first mindset kind of falls a bit flat, I think they're, sometimes their offense can bail them out. So I'm not too concerned about a couple of games where they seem to kind of let the other team back in and have to find a way to win. The key is they're finding ways to win.
Yeah. Colton, are you buying Sutter's explanation? They were low risk shots from the outside, and not to worry.
Yeah, I think I am. And like Greg said too, it's one game, so I'm not too concerned about it. And I think too, like we have to keep in mind the Ducks. I know coming into the season, everyone thought they're almost maybe a lottery team, but they've been sneaky good. I think they're in a playoff spot right now, and even the Penguins too, since Crosby's come back, have been climbing back up the standings. So it's not like they're just weak opponents they've been playing as of late. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think overall, as long as they're getting 2 points in every game like they did this past week, then things are pretty good.
Yeah. I wanted to switch gears, Brett, here. Again, sticking with the week and takeaways. I'm thinking about the depth now. Do you see the depth, the bottom 6 stepping up here? Greg mentioned Coleman, Monahan, and Lewis scoring, 5 points this week. As the season grinds on, I mean, what's your take on how important the depth is going to be?
Yeah, I think, your depth scoring is always important because your star players are inevitably going to have cold streaks throughout the season. And that's when you need those guys to step up. So, I mean, Lucic really is the only one that's stepped up. I don't think Pitlick has any goals. Trevor Lewis has a couple, and I think a couple empty netters. So, yeah, I think they're going to need more out of their bottom 6 rotation. I kind of see Dylan Dubé as a guy who's, kind of seems almost a little snake bitten, and he might be due for a few, key goals here in the next few weeks. But yeah, looking ahead, kind of more towards trade deadline, that might be, something they look for as a third line winger who can, kind of score those depth goals every now and again.
Yeah. Greg, you satisfied with the depth? Is it starting to gel now?
Yeah, they seem, they keep winning, so I'm not really too concerned about it. I think Colton wrote a good article about Coleman not really producing, but is it a big deal if the Flames keep winning? And when Coleman scored that goal against the Ducks, you can kind of see just the relief on his face, like after 16 games, because he had a goal in his very first game as a Flame, and then he had a couple more in the first kind of week and a half or so, and then he's been at a real dry spell. So I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of depth scoring, but if they keep winning, I don't really know, if there's anything you can really do about it, because, you can get more help at the trade deadline, but will they? I don't know. We'll see where they're at, and if their scoring does pick up. But at this point of the season, I'm not going to panic about, lack of depth scoring, but it is something to keep your eye on, because these line change combinations keep on changing, it seems, week to week. And so I guess if they hit on something that really works, maybe this Monahan Coleman thing will take off. So, and if that does, that kind of solves a lot of your kind of third line scoring right there.
Yeah. Well, let's move on here. Switching gears to Juuso Valimaki. That was big news this week. He's now down in Stockton, and I don't know that it got that much attention. That may say something about that decision and about Valimaki. The point, being that it didn't seem to bother anybody. Was it a surprise for you, Colton? Should we have seen this coming?
I don't know if surprise is really the right word. I think it's the right decision. He's kind of been like the forgotten guy this year in Calgary. He just hasn't gotten any playing time, which isn't helping him or the team. So I think if you're able to get him down in the minors and get him playing a lot of minutes, get his confidence up, that helps him rather than sitting in the press box. So I don't think I was surprised. I mean, I was kind of surprised at how the season's played out for him so far. I was really hoping he'd take a big step this year. Obviously, that hasn't happened, but I think it was the right decision.
Yeah. Brett, your thoughts on Valimaki going down? I mean, what's the message do you think that the Flames are sending to him? Is it that, hey, there's no future for you here with a big club, or, hey, we still believe in you, you just need some time to work out some of the problems with your game?
Yeah, I think it's definitely they just want him playing. It's obviously he wasn't, showing enough in practice or to Sutter there to beat out Nikita Zadorov for that last pairing. So yeah, I think personally I'd rather see him trying to grow his game in the NHL, but if he's going to be in the press box, then it's probably better for him that he's in Stockton. Yeah, I think it's kind of a sort of keep battling every day, and you might be able to get back up with the big club, but obviously they just didn't see enough from him in practice to get him in over Zadorov there.
Yeah. Greg, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think the Flames managed him well enough?
It's funny. I wrote an article before the season started saying that, I was listening to an interview on Sportsnet 960 where he was sounding very confident that he could do a lot to step in and fill some of the vacancy, some of the shoes that Mark Giordano left when he was selected by Seattle. And so he's a very confident guy. I think he's excelled at every level he's played at, and I think he's kind of probably surprised by this. And he did, complain in that Finnish newspaper about a month ago how disappointed he was with his lack of playing time. So I think this is a proud player, and I think that the Flames should try and just kind of tell him no, kind of let this guy know that maybe take a page out of the Oliver Shillington playbook and just kind of just sit tight and you'll get your chance. I think Shillington had 5 seasons of up and down, up and down, up and down. And now he's the Flames, top scoring defenseman and top 4 guy. And Sutter even alluded to that in the press conference a few days ago, saying it's that Shillington beat him out in training camp. He kind of took a spot that it was kind of slotted for Valimaki. So I think that the Flames should, keep him on their, in their system, because I think this kid eventually will pan out. I think he's not a bust in my book yet. So I think they should hang on to this guy and tell him, look, listen, if Shillington can do this, so can you. It might take another year. happen this year or next year, but I think he's worth keeping around.
Well, I guess that depends on his attitude down in Stockton. Colton, you wrote a piece on that press conference he gave to in Finland when he was complaining about not being played. What's your best guess as to how Valimaki is going to take being down in Stockton?
I mean, it's tough to say, I guess. You hope, like, I don't really know a ton about him, obviously. I know with that interview he was upset and everything, but I think it's important to note too that sometimes stuff can get a bit misinterpreted in translation and all that. But yeah, no, I think you hope that he just takes it well, right, and goes down and continues to work on his game. Because like Greg said, I think there's still potential for him to be a really good player. I don't think by any means this is the end of the road for him or with his time with the Flames. So yeah, hopefully he just takes it well, is able to stay positive, and who knows, like he could get called back up right away, kind of depending on what happens with the roster here, whether someone struggles, injuries, whatever it may be. So his opportunity again might not be that far away.
Yeah, I mean, some people are saying, hey, Trey Living, look, if you're not going to play him, then trade him. Brett, where are you on that camp? Do you see him with the Flames long term or moving along?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, kind of my opinion on Brad Treliving, he's got a very sentimental feeling towards his, first round draft picks, because it's not often that he trades them. So I think this is, a kid who's still 22, 23 years old. So he's still got lots of time to improve his game. And, he's already got 3 assists in just 2 games down in the AHL. So he's, obviously off to a good start. So I think this is a guy who still has a very good chance of becoming an everyday NHLer for sure. And I think, alluding to Oliver Shillington, I can kind of see the same situation, just doesn't quite get in. But if he, just has some patience, I think his time will come with the team for sure.
Okay, well, let's move on. I want to talk about Blake Coleman's struggles. We briefly touched on it already, but, he, as you're saying, he potted a goal in Friday night's win over the Ducks, but that was only his 4th in the 23 games he's played. And that puts him at just 7 points. In fact, he went scoreless in his previous 16 games. So all of that tracks to 16 goals and 28 points if you project that out over 82 games. And that's certainly below tallies in previous seasons with Tampa Bay and New Jersey. So I guess the question I have is, what's up with Coleman? I mean, did that goal the other night solve it all? Greg, how do you explain Coleman's disappointing production to this point in the year?
Well, I think the thing to keep in mind about Blake Coleman is that he was kind of brought in to be a solid 2-way player. Like he wasn't brought in to be like a goal scorer, and kind of like, like James Neal was brought in to score goals. And when he didn't score goals, like that was a big problem, because that's kind of the only thing he can do. And so, but when a guy like Blake Coleman doesn't score, like, he is like a former 20-goal scorer, like but I think he's known for a more 2-way 200-foot game. So I'm not too concerned about his lack of production just yet. He's kind of really bounced around in that, bottom 9. Like there was a lot of chatter, like he would be like a first line guy, they haven't really tried him out in that role, because that first line of with Goudreau and Kachuk and Lindholm has been just fantastic this year. So there's really no hope he'll get on that line. But he's been kind of bouncing around with various line mates. So I think maybe once he can get some chemistry going with someone, I think we'll see more production. But like I said, the Flames are still winning, and if he doesn't score a lot of goals, it would be a problem if the Flames were a 500 team right now, because people will be pointing fingers and but for now, I think no one's really too concerned about really the lack of production from this guy. I think he's still a solid 2-way player.
Yeah. Well, just before you continue on that, I'll go to Colton. I just wanted to remind everybody that the Morning Skate is a newsletter the hockeywriters.com puts out. It comes out every weekday morning right into your mailbox. And it's free of charge. And it contains all the latest news in the world of hockey, and I really like it because it's a daily dose of engaging, funny, and unique commentary on stories from around the hockey world. Now, to get it, you have to be a subscriber. It's free, as I've said, and to subscribe, you could Google the Morning Skate, and they'll set you up there. And you could also go to our hockeywriters.com main page, and up in the left-hand corner, if you double-click on the Morning Skate, you can register there. But I encourage you to take a look at it. It's a really good publication. So, Colton, carrying on with Blake Coleman and his struggles, you wrote an article, Flames Coleman struggling to establish offensive game. Would there be any explanations in that article as to some of his struggles? What's your thought?
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to just highlight the fact, like Greg said, I think he is definitely, he hasn't put up the offense that they're hoping for given the contract they've given him, but he is a player that when he's not scoring, like he said with James Neal or someone like some of those players, if they're not scoring, they don't provide a whole lot. He still plays on the penalty kill. He's quite good defensively at 5-on-5. But yeah, with that being said, I think he's really struggling just even shooting percentage and everything. I think puck luck's not really been on his side. But they are controlling play when he's when he's on the ice, him and whoever he's paired with on his line. So I do think things will turn around. And hopefully that goal just that he scored in this last game will be what gets him going. Because I think when they signed him, they were hoping that he could probably be a 20-goal, 40-ish point player. And obviously he hasn't been that just yet, but it's really early. He's still getting used to his teammates, the city, everything like that. So I'm still optimistic that it'll turn around soon.
Yeah. So what do you think, Brett? He hasn't, as Coleman found his way onto Sutter's radar, or is that going to happen later if he doesn't pick it up? What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I think like the guys have already said, he's a great two-way player. He's still been playing well in his own zone. And I know for me, when I'm watching him and Backlund and Mangiapane play, they essentially just play keep away half the time with, opposing teams. So they've looked really good as a line together. But yeah, I had seen a tweet a couple of days ago that the last 3 seasons he's shot about 10 to 11% in those seasons, and right now he's got like a 5% shooting percentage. So the goals are going to come for sure. But the main positive is that he's still doing everything else is kind of as why the Flames signed him, to be that defensive player. So I think the goals will come here, in the next little while for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Wanted to touch on articles for the week. We've had a number of good ones. Greg, I wanted to start with you. You wrote one, Lucic's hot start, helping Flames keep pace in the Western Conference. I'm hearing cries from Calgary fans, Luch for captain. What do you think? What's, when he took a lot of criticism, or the Flames did, for his salary cap hit. Yeah. And the thought was, well, he's not worth it. I don't hear those complaints anymore. What's your take on it? What's he brought? And I'm particularly interested in what intangibles he's brought to the team, the leadership.
Well, I think it really helps that he's got 7 goals, and he's only scored, his maximum has been 10 goals for the Flames in his time here. So he scored that last year. So he's well on pace to beat that. I don't know if he's really going to get to the 2025 that he's projected at right now, but the fact that he's the only guy that kind of makes these really bone crushing hits, and he's really the only player, he's kind of probably still the reigning heavyweight champ of the league. I don't really know anyone who would actually beat Lucic, dropping the gloves. So I think it's kind of endeared him to be a big fan favorite. And it's funny, when I post these articles on fan sites, like I'm getting like 200 positive comments, maybe one negative. You know, like it's as if people kind of forget that he is, you know, a $6 million cap hit guy. You know, so he's obviously providing enough positives that Flames fans are forgiving him for this, you know, horrendous overpay. You know, but I think he's also a character. He's a leader in that locker room. And I remember when I was researching my article last year about Lucic, I found a quote from Brad Preliving that said, people gravitate towards him. You know, he's just this big, I think he's larger than life character. So I'm not surprised he's so popular with Flames fans. And I think all of that just kind of covers up the fact that, you know, this still is a bad contract, and there's still 1 year left on it next year. And, you know, if he keeps contributing like this, then I don't think anyone's going to mind, you know, that the Flames are paying this guy that much money.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I mean, Colton, I didn't you write an article last year on the all-time worst Flames contract, and didn't Lucic's contract make that list? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think I wrote that, I think if that anything, that would be more on the Oilers. But no, somebody could have wrote that, but no, that one wasn't me. It like Greg said though, it's not a great contract, and like he said, I think if they're like a 500 team, maybe that's getting a bit more attention too. But I think winning kind of helps get rid of all negativities, and he is playing really well too. To his credit, I think he's got 7 goals in the season already. So I'm fine with him.
Well, I'm sorry I said that, Colton. You're probably, you know, the hate mail is already starting to come in, you know. But but Colton, on you did write an article this week, Flames 2010's first round picks ranked. You took a look at 9 of them, and by my calculation, in my view, I guess 5 of them, in my view, were flops, and the others, so. So my question to you, you know, when I read the article was, do you think the Flames are worse than other clubs when it comes to building through the draft? And by what I mean by that is not their ability to actually pick players in the draft, but what they do with those players once they get them in the organization. Does your review of those 9 picks say anything about that?
I mean, it's tough because like some of those picks, like you said, were obviously complete swings and misses. But I think that kind of can happen with every team. I think if you look at it, obviously you want your first rounders to pan out, and majority of those guys on that list, I don't think turned out as good as the Flames are hoping, outside of like the top few, the Monahans, Kachucks. But I don't know, because then you see some later round picks they have that have been really successful, like obviously Mangiapane, like we were talking about. So I think it's one of those things. Obviously, the draft's a bit of a crapshoot. Everyone knows that. But I do think there is something to, they probably could have been a lot more successful in recent years had they hit on those picks like the really good teams in the league seem to all the time.
Yeah. Brett, I wanted to, now you do a regular Flames prospects report. You've done a couple, and the latest one was on Chechelev, Sergeyev, Wolf, and more. And after reading your piece, which focused on goalie prospects, the Flames seem to have a real bonanza of netminders right now. And do you see any of them as a possibility, potentially as an attractive part of a picks and prospects package at the trade deadline? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think goalies are definitely always, you never know what you're going to get. But, you know, so far at basically every level that they have goalies playing, it's been positive so far. You know, Dustin Wolf has looked just as good as he did in junior in the AHL this season. He's, you know, yet to lose in regulation with the team this year. And then Sergeyev down in Tri-City in the USHL has been absolutely on fire. He leads every stat category for goalies right now. And so that's another positive thing to see. But yeah, I think honestly, this might be one of the, if not the only time in Flames club history they've had so many, it just seems very stable at every level, from the NHL to the AHL, even the ECHL, and then the junior leagues. They have a lot of goalie talent. So yeah, I think Dustin Wolf is definitely a guy that every passing day he looks, closer and closer to becoming the real deal. So that could happen sooner than later for sure.
Remind me which one of those guys plays for the Shreveport Mudbugs.
That was Sergeyev. Yeah, he played last year with the Mudbugs, and then he moved up a tier to the USHL this year.
Man, playing for the Mudbugs. That's probably going to scar him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Russians in trouble, I just wanted to close off on this one very quickly. I saw Kuznetsov was sent to the St. John Sea Dogs in the queue. Were you surprised by that, Greg?
I don't really second guess these decisions. Like if a guy is not really performing at the expectation at the level that he's at, then we shouldn't be surprised to see any moves. Like we were talking about Valimaki getting sent down. So I think at any level in this Flames organization, you should expect, if you're not playing to your full potential, if you're not playing, as well as the management wants you to. So I wasn't really surprised. I think people had high hopes for this guy, but I'm curious to see, how he'll do back where he was before. So.
Colton, you wrote an article on him earlier in the year. Were you surprised with him being put down?
I mean, I don't think a ton. He's still only 19, right? And playing in a league where the competition's is, for the most part, quite a bit older than him. So I think there's still a lot to be excited about. I think he'll go back to junior and then be able to play a ton of minutes, and he'll be with Team Russia too for the World Juniors coming up. So I think he's got a lot of opportunity to play a lot of hockey this season, and I think he still has a pretty high ceiling and projects to be a future NHLer down the road. But I think just playing in the AHL at 19 years old, especially for a defenseman, is a pretty tough task.
Yeah. Brett is our resident prospects expert. Any closing thoughts on Kuznetsov?
Yeah, I didn't find it surprising at all. St. John's held his rights due to the import draft, and they're hosting the Memorial Cup this spring. So I kind of see this possibly as more St. John calling up Calgary and being like, is there any chance we can get this guy? But yeah, I think he's had a bit of an odd career path, started over in the Russian junior leagues, played 1 year at the University of Connecticut, and he was the youngest kid in the entire league, and then got in with Stockton this year, and now going to the QMJHL. So yeah, I think this is probably the better move for him being 19. If he's good enough, he can go dominate, down in the junior leagues, and then try and get back in with Stockton next season. So yeah, not too surprised by this one.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but as always, that was a great discussion. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of the Flames Face-Off. We look forward to seeing you here next week. In the meantime, do be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and share this video with your fellow Flames fans. And do be sure to check out some of the great hockey content that we have here at thehockeywriters.com. Until next week, take care.